What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's a moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 651, How Josh Garrett Opened a Gym and Created a Community.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. On your 55th episode of the Pound This Podcast, Josh Garrett, owner, trainer at Cincy 360 Fitness. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Number 55.
55.
We went and counted it.
That's a good amount.
Yeah. That's, over the course of 2.5 years, that's a solid number.
Yeah.
I think so anyway.
It's been... that's one a week for a little over a year?
Sure, yeah.
52 weeks?
Yeah, but we spread it out over 2.5.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one every other week?
Yeah. Well, when we hit 100, we're going to have like a celebration. Like, do you want a cake?
Sure.
What's your favorite kind of cake?
Oh, ooh.
Like, if I'm like, it's your birthday, you get whatever you want. Like, what are you asking for?
Those ice cream cakes are pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Like
a Dairy Queen? Okay.
Ice cream cake.
The best part's like the fudge and like the Oreo crunchy stuff in the middle.
Yeah. So, and then just like a yellow or like confetti cake.
Okay.
You get down with that with like milk.
With just a standard icing on it?
Yeah, like vanilla. I'm not a huge chocolate fan. I don't like chocolate at all in anything.
That's
I know,
interesting.
it's weird.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just too dry.
Huh. Yeah, dry is not a word that I would use to describe chocolate, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, you get done with it and it's like...
Even like chocolate milk and stuff like that you don't like?
Oh, well, chocolate milk.
That's still chocolate.
It's kind of like syrup. It's like syrup and milk.
That's true. So where I want to go with this episode is because I've been talking to all of the trainers here at 360 because I'm coworkers with everybody now. And I know that just saying that you've been on 55 episodes, I'm sure I asked you in the first couple episodes more of your backstory and opening the gym and stuff like that, but I don't fully remember everything. And I have specific questions that I want to ask about that. But before I get to that, my favorite thing is to ask you all my weirdo questions.
Great.
So there's no way we're going to avoid that. So I brought your favorite book, The If Questions for the Game of Life. And I'll let you ask me too. You can feel free to throw a curveball question at me,
I know. It's just you're so good at it. Like, you're so good at improv stuff that it really sets the bar high. And then when you ask these questions, I'm like, my mind just blanked.
Well, somebody messaged me on Instagram about our last podcast together saying that they would totally attend a piñata hitting exercise class if you did one from our last episode.
Oh, the things that we're going to do.
Right? So give me a number between 1 and, 130, I think.
130.
Okay. I think that's
or the last page.
The last page. Okay, hold on. It's 129. Damn, I was close. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh my God. That's a weird question. Hold on. Oof. If you could have the answer to any question, what would it be?
Ooh. Answer to any question. I think I've said this one before, but like the meaning of life, like what, it would be, I don't know. It would be a blessing and a curse, right? If you had the book that you could see what your life should be, but then it would take away the magicalness of
figuring it
going
out.
through it. You know?
I guess on the same but different, I would go the angle of like, what's my purpose in this life? And I feel like that would be, I guess it's kind of the same as meaning, but I feel like that's...
Yeah, but purpose would then give you just
direction.
It gives you like the framework of it. You got to fill in the blanks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. See, you took my answer and just moved it one level up. It's just that's a better answer.
Okay, I gotta ask you one more from this page, then you can ask me one. If you could visit only one more place in the world that you have never been, where would you go for this final voyage?
Alaska.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
Right
I've never seen it. I watched Into the Wild, and that was a pretty sweet movie. Just to see the vastness of it, because I've been to like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it's pretty isolated up there.
Yeah. Oh, Alaska.
So I couldn't imagine.
And we were just talking about Alaska yesterday, where Alaska is, I mean, outside of, I'd say the places I've been to where you're just kind of like, this place is unreal. Alaska's like that for me, and Iceland was like that for me.
Yeah.
That Alaska, again, it's just like, I've been to the Rocky Mountains, you know, I've been to the Rocky Mountains of Canada, I've hiked across a glacier in Banff and all that other stuff, where it's like, but those mountains, like, Alaska's just different. It's just so big. Like, I'm like, I can't take a picture of this. Like, I just couldn't. I kind of feel that way with like nature anyway. Like, nothing can, you can't capture being there. But like Alaska is just, so big and so wild that even though like, I hiked a mountain by myself while I was there, and that wasn't like in a park or anything, but I went to like an official like park, and it's like, yo, you're on your own. Don't you go dying. And you know, and it's like,
good luck.
It's like a half hour outside of Anchorage. Like, it's not like it's just wild everywhere.
Right.
And when I first flew in, my friend Tress is like, don't hit a moose, you're going to die. So I had just got off of 18 hours of flights, and it was midnight in Alaska time, and I had to drive a half hour to her house in a rental car. And then she's just like, watch out. Yeah, if you hit a moose, it's like hitting a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God. Yeah, but you should totally go. Like, I would, long story short, or maybe I just made that very long, but like, that's a good choice.
Yeah, I would. Iceland would be another one. Canada has so much beauty up there. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think that any place you can find the beauty in it if you're like out in nature. And I know that sounds woo-woo-y, but it's like, you know, I don't know. You would love Iceland. One place would be,
I would definitely tell you to go to Iceland. Like, the waterfalls, mountains, there's just wild horses running around, like, and all the hot springs. Like, it's freaking cool.
Yeah, I could definitely get down with an Alaska trip or an Iceland trip.
Both not the cheapest trips, though. So you're just picking a page number for me. Oh, you look like you got to look at this mischievous look on your face.
I was getting ready to ask you, like, all right, do you want to pick a page? But I already picked one for you. So if you had to rename your hometown, what would you call
it? Skid mark.
Skid mark. Oh, yeah. Let me hear this why.
I mean, no, there's nothing that bad about it. It's just like, I don't. I guess just my own.
Skid mark. You're gonna lead with skid mark, and then be like, it's not that bad.
There are redeeming factors too. I just say that my experience in my hometown is probably different than the other people that live in my hometown. I mean, or I guess like that is really mean.
But I get it, right? Like, it's small town. Like, people don't understand a small town unless you've lived in a small town.
Yeah.
And like, there's
everybody's
so much
in your crap. Like, everybody knows everything about you. Like,
but it is cool to a degree.
It is. I mean, that's
like,
what I'm saying.
That it's beautiful, and it's like a pain in the ass at the same time. It's like, and unless you've lived in a small town, you can't speak to that. So it's like, I get exactly where you're going with that analogy.
Yeah, where it's just like living on the outskirts of town, I think would be different than being in town. I mean, people, because I worked at like the only two places at the time that were in my hometown, that people would know something happened to my neighbor or whatever and make a special trip to come like see me at the gas station and start just like gossiping.
Oh yeah.
And like, and I'm like,
everybody knows everything.
I know. And then like, I'm like, I just didn't like that. And I mean, me growing up there, again, I have a different perspective as an adult, appreciating the more kind of small town, especially where I grew up, where it's a small town that's also like a half hour away from St. Louis. So it's like, to have the very small town isolated feel, but be next to such a large city, I think is cool. And I appreciate that now. But at the time, like my family would never go to St. Louis. They wouldn't even, there's all this cool stuff over there. And they're like, we're not driving over a bridge. You know what I mean? And
so far away.
And so like, it was just like massive treat to go to like one Cardinals game a year or go to Six Flags once a year. And then even those experiences were so bare bones. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we're going all out. No, it's like you're not eating today because we're at Six Flags.
Yeah. You think you're getting a $10 hamburger? I don't think so.
Yeah, right? You are eating the packed lunch in the car. Haul your ass to the very back of the parking lot and get your PB&J.
Exactly.
And don't you bitch about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great.
So, yeah, there's just like that part of where I'm like, I don't want to get out of here. I hate it here.
But now as an adult, you look back and it's almost... because everybody knows everybody, that's where everybody's saying hi to everybody and everybody, looking out for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the small town.
Yeah.
And then the curse of it is just like, why does everybody know everything about everybody?
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't mind living in a small town. I wouldn't go back to my small town, though. I just feel like that just doesn't interest me at all. I like going back for like a minute and be like, oh, it's fun. And then remember here. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to drive through town, like literally like blink and it's gone. And so like, it's kind of fun for the nostalgia factor. And also like, because I don't have to run into anybody that I went to school with. Not that I even think that they would even recognize me anymore.
right.
Which is again, like not, I know we're going super off topic, but that's just kind of what we do.
That never happens with us.
But it's so weird now to be an age where everybody I grew up with, because I was with the same 60 kids until we had to get shipped to another town for high school, that I'm at the age now where like I was hanging out with them and we were like in 8th grade and like we're our parents' age.
Yeah.
And to see them where they all have kids that were our age when we were in school together is so weird. I mean, being a person that doesn't have kids because I think I have a different perspective because I'm not in it with them in that way. But to see like when I go on Facebook and talking about like watching their kids, 8th grade gymnastics thing and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my God. And like in my mind, they're still like 12 or 16. Yeah. Like a couple of them, like, we still work at Subway together? Like, oh no, you're like an executive somewhere now and you have kids or you're pregnant and you're doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, and you just like look like a dad, or you just like look like what your dad looks like.
Adult.
Yeah. Right. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like then I get into my own head of like, but is that me too? And I'm like, it doesn't feel like me. I feel like I'm probably for them too. Like you just feel like you're 16 still,
right?
But you're not.
Oh yeah. Time goes very quickly.
Yeah. It's just, it's weird. And I haven't been back to see anybody in person in a really long time. When I first moved away, I would come back. The homecoming was the big thing, which is go to the very small, I wouldn't even call it fairgrounds. It's a patch of rocks with a couple pavilions on it. And, they'd bring in some, and like the big slide and whatever, like some small crap. Like there was no room for like a roller coaster or anything like that. And like I would go back for that. And that's kind of where everybody would see each other.
Did you guys have, what was it? The Scrambler?
Yeah.
Oh God, those things are awful. Could you imagine riding that as an adult? Like you'd get off there, like you would be sore if you went to the fair. As an
any
adult.
fair equipment, man, that stuff bangs your ass
I know.
around.
That's what I mean. Like you would wake up the next day and be like, "Oh my goodness, I got hit by a train."
That was like, I didn't even ride the ride so much. Well, and as like in high school, it was fun for us to be like, "Who do we know that's working the beer cart? They'll sneak us some beers." And so like that, and then just the small town stuff there, where it's like. Just the little games, the kind of like gambling sort of games. Like there was bingo going on, and I can't remember some of the other ones where it's like spin the wheel, and there's like put your thing on a number, and like the prizes you would win were like literally 40 ounces.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And you get a steel reserve.
Yeah. I mean, it legit was that. Like, when my friend Bud, like, had 5 40-ouncers. He was just carrying around because that's what he won playing whatever gambling game that benefited the marching band. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And, you know, get your deep fried food and all that stuff, which just in such a, yeah, after being to like state fairs and stuff like that, where I'm like, when I just grew up with that, and in such a tiny little German town too, there was Beer Fest and May Fest and all the church picnics. And that's just pretty what it was like every month there's an excuse to get drunk. And so it was all just different variations of that.
How can we put a framework around this
Yeah.
to give people a reason to get drunk?
Did your hometown have stuff like that?
Not as frequently, but we did have like fairgrounds. Like we had a fair that was like a week long that everybody kind of got into that was
that's cool.
showing animals and different things like that.
Were you ever in 4-H or anything like that?
I was not.
Okay.
No, just because of proximity wise, it was a little bit hard to, and we didn't have animals growing up. We lived on a farm, but it wasn't like it was like corn and soybeans kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, we had the fair, and then we would do stuff with like the DARE program, the GREAT program.
Oh my
they
God.
would do
You
stuff.
had GREAT too. Like there's so many gangs in our small towns.
Yes, right? Like, yeah. I do remember like DARE, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. And then GREAT, I was like, what are they talking about? Like, I don't even know what is going on here.
Yeah, like what? I see a gang on TV.
Yeah, it's like, I got to drive 45 minutes to my buddy's house. Like, there's no gangs around here. We'd have to ride a bike.
Yeah, we had to do the same thing, and we all thought that was like the stupidest thing.
Yeah, it was like, okay, they're just reaching out. But,
Yeah.
all right.
Do you remember the DARE song? Did you have to memorize that and sing it at your DARE graduation?
Oh, probably.
Dare to keep a kid off drugs.
I do not remember that.
Dare to keep a kid off dope.
Oh,
That was literally a line in it. Dope. Who says that?
dope.
Other than me, like, that's dope, bro. But be like, yo, I got some dope. You want some?
I'm sure there's people that do.
Yeah, I guess. In a gang that I wasn't.
They're in
welcome
the
to.
GREAT program. They're avoiding the GREAT program.
Oh my God. So anyway, speaking about you and your great program and DARE. So growing up in your small town, I know that you were into athletics, obviously more so than 4-H.
Yep.
So you played like all the sports, right?
Not baseball.
So everything but baseball. Why not baseball?
I was horrible at baseball. It just the speed of the game didn't interest me. You know, you really only got the pitcher, the catcher, and the batter that's doing something until the batter hits the ball, and then that happens every once in a while, and it just wasn't fast enough for me. And then I was horrible at hitting a baseball, so I wasn't good at it, and it was slow. So that and wrestling, I never wrestled.
Oh, okay.
So it was basketball, football, and track.
Okay. And then from there, that kind of sparked your interest in doing fitness as a profession?
Kind of. So going through athletics, we were always in the gym. The gym was always kind of part of life. And then got done with football, played football in college, got done with that. And it was like, I don't know, it was my outlet kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like it was just my safe space, so to speak. So yeah, I just stayed in lifting and working out and being active. And then long story short, I became a trainer, and yeah, that's where that.
So because you were so into athletics, have you been on any like adult leagues or played any like thing for funsies?
We played intramurals in college, but never,
but not like as an adult, like never played like softball or kickball or whatever teams there are.
No, just because of training. It was always, you train till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. There's not a whole lot of free time to do normal activities that other people are doing. But golf, I definitely like to go out and golf from time to time, but never getting into like a flag football league or anything like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been on a softball team before and you haven't. That's weird. As an adult, I was on 2 at once. It was terrible.
Were you any good?
Huh?
Are you any good?
No. And like the two teams I was on, one was for the improv troupe I was a part of, which that should have been filmed. That was pure comedy to watch a bunch of improv nerds. We just did it to drink because we were on a bar league or, our beer league. And then at the same time, the radio station I was at, we were in a softball league and they took it so seriously.
I love people that take that stuff so seriously. Oh my
God. And so then I literally showed up in jeans and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I could do that with the improv troupe because it was just very funny to watch people have no idea how baseball works. And like we got mercy ruled every single game. We got beat so bad every single game. Yeah. But the other team, when I was at 98 PXY, the number one hit music station, that we showed up and they're like, we're going to show up and run sprints on Saturday. I'm like, what? Like, they're like, I thought I was here to
practice. What are you talking practice?
I know, like I'm here to drink. And so, yeah, they just like, I was mostly the one that was like, I'm having, like, we all just kind of bitched about like the person that was really taking it seriously, and everybody was way better than me. So I'm like, I hate myself for agreeing to this. But then it just became, I mean, when you're in radio, everything just becomes show content. And so it's like, oh, then we can talk about how much Amanda sucks at this. And so, yeah, that one, yeah, they took themselves very seriously, and that I didn't like that. I liked watching a bunch of theater adults scream when a ball came their way. That was more fun for me. Somebody
hits it and you're out there going, please don't come to me. Please don't. Oh, why is it coming this way?
It's every single one of us. Like one of the guy that founded our improv troupe, very first game, he went to catch the ball and it broke his thumb.
Oh no.
Because he went to swat the ball back. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, there's my athletic experience. So after you got out of college, which you majored in business, right? You didn't even major in like health and fitness?
Yeah. No, it was business marketing.
But I mean, that works because you own a gym. So that fits.
Kind of. I mean, we were talking about mediums as like billboards.
Okay.
Like you're not using billboards as a small business in today's world. Like Facebook didn't exist. There wasn't no social media, which is mind blowing that's how,
how quickly things change.
It's like, it's just so fast. And like every time you turn around, it's like a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we were researching magazine articles and magazine ads and billboards. And now it's like, no, you're not going to use that as an advertising medium. So the structure of business and the idea behind marketing, definitely helps with business. But I didn't study athletics.
Did you feel like that would be when you first became a trainer? Where did you go from that? Was you're majored in, you graduated to, I'm going to be a personal trainer?
I just kind of bounced around from thing to thing. I think I had 3 or 4 jobs in between, and they were just jobs. They weren't careers. It wasn't anything that like excited me or anything to that degree. My buddy was training at the time, and he said, I should look into it. It's something that interests him, and he thinks that it would be interesting to me. So I got certified. That was going to be like a part-time gig in conjunction with what I was doing. I worked one of those jobs that were like 7 to 3. So we had a lot of time in the afternoon. So I was going to train at night.
And this was at a tool and die place, right?
Yeah, it was, basically the big construction companies, they would go and deliver tools to that construction site. So then I would load the tools into the delivery van and make sure all the orders got filled. Kind of thing. So was doing that from like 7 to 3. And then afterwards, the game plan was to go and train, and then went to a big box gym, started training. Within a month, 2 months, the guy that was running the gym was leaving. So then I had the opportunity to manage the training part of that gym as well as train, because it was a smaller gym. So I got the salary, which was very, very small. And then I got the ability to train as well to make money on that. So it allowed me to just get into training full time.
Well, I know that you've talked to me about this, like not on the podcast, of like just even your journey of being a trainer, of how different you were at the beginning of your training career than you are now.
Oh yeah.
Where you were just like rolling people hard.
Yes. Yes. Like in the beginning of training, I bought a lot of Gatorades because people were passing out and puking, and yeah, it was not, I would not recommend training with me when I first started training.
So then when did the transition come in for you? Because I mean, now you're so focused on correctives and breathing and like, I mean, that is the opposite of making people barf when they're working out.
But I can turn it up if need be.
But like, where did your just mindset shift kind of happen just from doing it more often?
When I injured myself, that was like a big shift in a lot of things, because I was the professional. I was the guy that people were going to for answers about exercise, and then I ended up screwing myself up. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. Like, I have to be doing something wrong if I'm not even doing it for myself, right?
Yeah.
So then I started peeling back the layers of the onion and started to realize like how interconnected and intricate the system is, and how, we can screw it up easily by the information that we're putting into it. And that information that I was putting into it was just go hard 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And the body just wasn't able to run on that level for that amount of time. So
when you came to this realization, were you still at the box gym, or had you already opened 360?
it was towards the end of the big box gym.
Okay.
So I was there, and that had its own ebb and flow. Like I wasn't just starting and then killing people for 4 years and then I hurt myself. It was like when you start training, as you're realizing, like you have this idea of what training is, and then you start getting into it and you realize like, well, this is very complex. Like there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. And, you do what you think is right for people, but then the outcome isn't what you were looking for, right? The stimulus didn't create the adaptation that you were trying to achieve, right? Puking, making people pass out.
Yeah.
Not a good thing, right? So then I have to start looking at the formula and saying, okay, well, what am I doing from A to B to screw this thing up? And then you kind of dissect it, and it's like, all right, well, okay, so that exercise is too hard for that individual. So how do I stair-step that back to, all right, there's an exercise that they're doing correctly. It's really challenging for them, and that's going to create the adaptation that I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
And then that is kind of the journey that I've been on forever. It just started like at a very high level of just crushing people,
Yeah.
and myself included, and then bringing it back to going, all right, well, I missed steps 1 through 10 because, coming from a small town, we didn't have a huge athletic program. Like we got killed in football, and we had a strength coach that did the best that he could do. And, but he missed some stuff. Right. So, and the advancements in the research and development that's going on in training, like training's still a really small or an infant level industry, right? There's not a lot of validity in training that a lot of research and development is going into. We're starting to get into it, which is really cool. But back in the it's just Muscle and Fitness or Arnold or whatever bodybuilding program that they were doing at that time, and if you're doing that and sports, it's like you could just squat 315. They didn't give a shit what it looked like. You just squatted 315 and they're like, yeah, good job. And you're like, yeah, I just ripped vertebrae in my spine. Like that was not a good job.
Yeah.
But getting off topic, right? So started at the big box gym, injured myself, and then that kind of propelled me down the rabbit hole of like trying to reverse engineer this thing to get the level of strength or goal or fitness, whatever you're searching for, and then being able to help people meet them where they're at and then program to get them to where they want to be.
So walk me through the process though, because I think this is super interesting of going from a box gym, a corporate job, because I think in a lot of ways, this is a dream for so many people of like, I'm working in this situation. I have a boss. I'm dealing with this. Wouldn't it be amazing that I'm like, I have a way for this place to run better? Well, doesn't everybody in their job, right? Yeah. I have like, if we only just did it this way, and then you're like, well, I'm going to do it then. I'm going to open my own gym and do it my way and see if it works. So like, walk me through that process, because that's super interesting. Like to make the decision, you make the decision of like, wouldn't it be cool to have my own space? Yeah. Then how do you, what are the steps you take to get there?
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking about what it is that you wanted to like create or whatever the case may be, right? It's just like working out. Like you have a goal, you have an idea of what you want your body to look like, be like, feel like. You know where you're at right now. You got to kind of create the strategy to get from A to B, implement the strategy, and then just adjust accordingly from there. So it was like a lot of thinking, preparing in the beginning, and then I would put the model in front of my clients, because that was pretty cool too, of like you have the resources of like high level executives that you can just say like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Tell me where I'm wrong. Right. Yeah. And then like they would point out like things that you would need to work on. So then it was like a lot of test retest before we even got to implementation of it. So trying to iron out all of those details, and then you get into it and realize like, oh, you just got to roll with it anyways. Yeah. So, it's a lot like exercise. It's, you're going to have trials and tribulations. You're going to have days that you're like, God, I do not want to do this.
But I'm going to ask you for like the nuts and bolts of it, of just kind of like you saved up money, like where do you, like, you know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like, where's the part where you flip the switch of like, I quit, and then you opening this place?
Yeah. Probably should have thought of that a lot more. So it was like, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I talked to my family about it, and they were super supportive and kind of like backed me in any way that they could. And, my mom's been a huge influence, and she helps me with a lot of things. And I can remember to this day, she's like, Josh, if you screw this up, it's a good car payment. Like, that's it. And I was like, oh, all right, that's a good way to look at it, right? Because you think like, oh my God, if I screw this up, it's going to be devastating. Yeah. And it would be, but it wasn't a huge, substantial amount of money, right? Yeah. So I had a little bit in savings, and then they helped me out. And then there was clients that like pre-bought sessions. And then I just put everything else on a credit card, 18 months, 0% interest, and hope you pay it off. Yeah. And then it was pretty much, driving around, Jules and I mean, we drove around for hours and hours and just trying to find spots and, call this person, go look at a spot. It doesn't work. This area is not the great, whatever the case may be. Holy shit, that price point is way out of range, you know, that kind of thing. And then, we found the first location, and it was like, it wasn't perfect, but it was good. And it was airy and open and had a good feel to it. And it was just kind of like you walked in and it was like, all right, this can work, And then we just kind of rolled the dice and just started putting together, because you kind of put it out into the universe if you want to go into that woo-woo stuff. But like just people started hearing about it in the gym. And then it was like, hey, my dad's got this piece of equipment. Would you be interested? And I'm like, I'm really not looking, because I'm thinking like it's the sand shake weights, like the old school 80s, barbells and stuff. And then like people had like really nice equipment that they were, it was used. So they gave me a really good deal on it. And then I had to get flooring, which was crazy expensive, and mirrors. It was pretty expensive. And it was a lot.
And then how long were you in that location before you moved to where we are now?
2 years.
Okay. And how long have you been here in this location where 360 is now?
Going on 6 years. Yeah.
You've been in this spot 6 years? Dang, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. Cause we opened in, what was it, 2013? Yeah. And then we moved in 2015, March of 2015. Yeah, and then to here. So,
and then I mean, surviving COVID and getting shut down and everything else. Still, I mean, you got to be super
still
proud
fighting.
of that. Yeah, but you got to be
fighting.
super proud. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but there's just so much. Like when you take a step back and you look at it, and I can again correlate this to fitness, right? Like everybody will be like, when you get to your goal or you're looking better or feeling better, then people, oh, you got to be so happy. And you're like, yeah, but I could do a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
There's always like a little bit more. And that's where you go with, I think, a business. Like you see what you've done and it's like, man, that's amazing. But we could go here, and that, I think that's the blessing and the curse of it. And, the cool thing is having people around me that kind of, you just stopping and smell the roses and being happy that, you get to still come into a place that like you created and it was like a thought in your head of like, I think we can do this. And then you put an action plan in play. And
well, and I know too that after, talking to all the other trainers here, but to hear whenever, you describe like the team here, well, I want you to describe that right now. Like of just like, if somebody's like, tell me about working out at 360 and the team you have, like, how would you describe that?
Oh, it's amazing. Like it's so many, everybody's got their own niche and that niche forms the thing. And then it's like so much, there's so much ego in our industry and there's not that here. And that's what I love about our team is like, we all bring it and we know our stuff. And then there's a level that we're all just like, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
What's that? I want to learn about that, and we all continually grow and we continually learn. And then in doing so, we get to educate our clients and we get to help the community. And it makes, something that you could do individually on your own and you could be good at it. But when you put it together in a team, it's like, well, now it's a machine. Like it's a really, really organized thing. It like almost becomes a different entity within itself, right?
Yeah.
Like you're part of it, but you're part of the system now. You're part of the thing, the machine, the community, whatever you want to call it. And it's just really, I'm just really fortunate to be able to work with the people that I can also learn from so much in so many different ways. It's just, and then when people say, aren't you so proud of what you created? It's like, yeah, we created it. Like there's no, like, yeah, it was an idea, but just, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
You gave everybody the space to come in and form it then.
Yeah. And then it was just like, Leo with yoga and Nick with mindfulness and you with the nutrition and the food prep and the weight loss journey and Whitney with the prehab, rehab, sports, athletic, and then just the fun side of it, right? Like everybody also like knows their stuff, but then they're like, yeah, we'll cut up and do like a little dance and just get the gym to laugh. Like it's just, it's cool. It's so, I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, just saying, you think that, talking about how it's just like a whole team together, which I've referred to it before, like, when you describe it like a team of Avengers, like everybody is awesome on their own, but together you're stronger. Where you think of like most box gyms and stuff like that, like it doesn't feel to me like those personal trainers are really working together.
Right.
Like it feels like everybody like out on your own.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'm done. See ya.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, yeah. And so that's where I'm like, I'm super fortunate that, you're allowing me to be part of this team, especially being such a newbie to training and, where you and everybody here is like teaching me how to be a trainer. You know what I mean? So it's like, I couldn't ask for like, it's like I get to go to like the Harvard of training. You know what I mean?
That is
like learning from the best people and to be in such an, like, such a caring environment where everybody legitimately cares about each other and cares about clients and cares about the gym. It's not just a job. is such a cool place, which is exactly why I wanted to dive into this more on this podcast, because even though you've been on 54 other times, you know, we don't go into like, what's the feeling of this gym? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And describing what this gym is like to people that have never been here before, or are not in Cincinnati or could experience it. And it's out of so many places that I've been to, it's just so different from any other place that I've ever experienced. And it's, you know, I'm just really like proud to be involved with it. And
well, thank you for saying that. And we're happy to have you. I mean, it's, you know, I'm humbled. Like it's you get your second family, you know, you got everybody that you're going to have bad days. And when you come in, you know, hell, there's sometimes clients that pick me up, you know, hey, you know, everybody's got the ups and downs of it. But thank you for saying that. I mean, that's awesome. It's really cool. The proud part for me is when you have that idea in your head of just like, if we could just create the community that everybody is working together to be better, that would be pretty cool. Like I would want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And then to hear when you like yourself say stuff like that, it's like awesome. Like, you know, we've had the trials and tribulations and we haven't done everything perfectly as a business, but
God, who does?
Right. But it's like, we're keeping that core message, and that's cool.
And I think that too, that's the sort of thing that, you know, makes you survive a thing like COVID and getting shut down and, you know, new rules and, you know, just like, you know, it's like it's that where everybody's banding together and just building the community with clients and stuff like that. Like it's hard. It sucks. It's a kick to the face. I mean, the past year has been a kick to the face for everyone, but it's like, that's what, you know, for the days when you're crying on the floor because things are so hard, to be like, well, this is why I'm doing this. This is what's pulling me through it. And that's just so important, and not everybody has that.
Well, and you're hit the nail on the head. I mean, without the team, like if I was solo during COVID, I wouldn't have made it. Nope.
Yeah.
Like I was way too in my head. But you know, you look and everybody's kind of pivoting and making adjustments, and you're like, oh shit. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hell, we're going to get through this. Okay, let's go. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Well, that being said, since, you know, COVID rules are being lifted a little bit more, and obviously 360 is a safe space, and always looking to add people, or people want to come check it out. I'm setting you up to give out the email address.
So yeah, if anybody has any questions, and that doesn't even mean you want to come check out the gym. If you just have fitness questions, just shoot me an email, info@cincy360fitness.com.
All right.
All right.
Well, see you later.
See you later.
AmandaValentineBites.com